Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the WGLNA Silver League Semifinals. The winner of both of tonight's matches will be going on to the Gold League 2015-2016 Season 2. On top of that, they're going to be playing for 60,000 gold and a Hype 59 for each of the players on their team, which, if you total it up, comes out over $1,000. So a lot of prizes on the line. Lincoln Brigade will be casting the Clueless and Googly Bobbers match over on their channel. You can check that out on battleviewer.com if you want to see that match as well. Me and Rev here will be casting you guys the Ding NA versus Hugh match, hypothetically underrated error. We're going to go ahead and start things off right now and give you guys a quick interview with representatives from both teams, and then we're going to let them get out of here and get into the matches. And matches begin about 5-10 minutes from now. So I have Zion from Hugh, and I have Romstar from Ding NA. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, so I'm just going to ask you guys a couple quick questions here, and then I'll let you guys get out of here. We'll start with Ding. Romstar, go ahead and give us the background of your team, how you guys progressed through the season, just nonsense like that.
Well, our team originally known as CYA from the previous 2 seasons. We were in Silver League last season, and we took first place in the Bronze League season before that. As we were playing last season in Silver League, we had some people issues, so we kind of regrouped and tried to qualify for the Gold League last time around, and didn't quite make it far enough. I think we lost in the quarterfinals or maybe even the semifinals. I'm not sure. I already forgot. It's kind of been quite a while back. Since then, we decided to restart fresh, and we took on 3 people from a different team. They had actually their own team from Rush. And picked up a few other players, and that's it. And we just been playing. We have our ups and downs, and hopefully this is gonna be an up.
Yeah, right on. Zion, correct me if I'm saying your name wrong. Same question to you. How did your guys' season go? What's your background, history? Quick little synopsis.
So the background is we've been like in top 1 for the half of the season and just having some player issues. Yeah, we have a Brazilian team, so we gotta like find Brazilian players, and big problem here in players. From that, we just tried to maintain our gameplay and then style of playing. We just won now the BRMA, the Brazilian League that happened, World of Tanks, and that's it.
Right on. All right, Rom. So you guys are obviously a part of the Ding organization. So do you guys feel that puts any additional pressure on you guys to perform well, or are you guys just doing your thing and whatever happens, happens?
Well, some of us really just doing their thing, and whatever happens, happens. Some others not so much. Some take a little more personal than others. As most teams, they have their people who are just chill, whatever, and then a few people who are, hardcore, and they just want to get it done or get it accomplished and stuff. And we've been at it for quite a while, and feel like this is basically a do or die for us, I believe, from what some people were saying. So if we don't go forward, if we don't really just don't go forward, I don't see our team continuing, at least with the majority. But maybe a few players will come back and go join other teams or so. But I think this is pretty much do or die, because just personal lives and stuff. We've been at it for quite a while, and yeah, that's it.
Right on. All right, Hugh, you mentioned before you just won the Brazilian League.
Welcome.
So do you guys feel that that playing in that league has helped you guys grow as a team, and then winning at a LAN is gonna prepare you for the coming?
Yeah, it prepared as a team, yes. And for this, I really respect all the teams that are playing today, especially Dingane. We had some matches before in the league, so I mean, we are really excited to play against them, and we hope the results today show us in our favor.
Okay. Right on. All right, and real quickly. Let you guys get out of here in a second. Rumstar, you have anything to say to Zion and Hugh?
Just good luck, and whatever happens, happens, man. And we're probably both winners, anyways. To get 30K minimum prize is 30K plus a lowest, so can't go wrong with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of gold on the line. Zion, Hugh, response?
Yeah, just good luck and have fun, and we hope see you in the battlefield, man. Good luck.
All right, you guys can go ahead and get out of here, and we will see you guys in battle.
Bye.
Alrighty, guys. So, just got out of the player interviews. We'll be starting battles here pretty quickly. Looks like the teams are getting set up, and they're going to start map picks. They're just getting underway right now. So, that being said, maps for tonight. We will be starting off with Ruinberg, which was Hugh's pick. Ding will be starting on defense, and Hugh will be starting on offense. First map. So Ruinberg's always a lot of very good fights. I feel it's one of those maps that currently in the league rotation that makes or breaks teams. You have to play as a team. You have to be able to get all your guns together. You got to share HP. It requires a lot of the basics. And the map is set up such that you have to be decisive in whatever you do. If you hesitate too long, if the other team gets a good read on you, you're going to get boxed in. So I'm really looking forward to this. Two of these teams, obviously top quality. If you include the Gold League teams, you could argue that teams we're watching right now were within the top 15 in the whole North American region. So it should be some good fights there. And then the second map for the night is going to be Steps. Hugh is going to start on defense. So, more open map. Probably going to see a lot of lightweight spam, to be honest. Current meta, there's not a whole reason not to. Maybe some T32s mixed in there, some LTTBs, maybe a couple 1390s and RUs, but for the most part, I'm expecting to see a lot of lightweights out of both these teams. I haven't known either of these teams to be big users of Artie, so I don't know if we'll see any of that tonight, but who knows? Brev, thoughts? Yeah, no, you brought that up. We played both of them during the regular season. I believe we finished 5-3 with Hugh. I think we finished 5-3 with both of the teams, actually. A lot of very close fights. Hugh's organization and focus fire and brawls was very, very good. Ding's strong point, in my opinion, at least when we played them, was they were able to get all their guns into a fight. Not necessarily focus fire well, but they were able to create the lanes, the crossfires, and do a really good job at knocking out our tanks and just putting a lot of guns in the fight, more than we could. And we'll hopefully see that here. All right, so we are in, guys. Timer has started. We have, for the side of Hugh, they are bringing 4 IS-3s, double 1390, and a MT-25. Over on Ding NA, we have a 5100, 4 IS-3s, and 2 LTTBs. So both teams choosing to go rather heavy, which is a little bit surprising for me, with the map being the way it's set up. Defense, I'd expect them to be heavy, but offense, this will be interesting. They're going to have to commit. That kind of screams North push to me, but we will have to see. So it looks like Q, despite what I just said, even though they brought all the heavy tanks, are going off to the south. So we're going to see a south push, 2-cap play coming out of them. MT25 looks like he's about to YOLO push the middle, coming right up here, and Mr. Gordon Freeman in LTB is going to find him. Doesn't look like he's going to line up for any shots, but he may light them for the IS-3s of Ding, who are all lined up for the shots right now. No lights coming out of the MT25, and he gets out of there scot-free. The IS-3s of Ding are continuing their push into the Delta Village. Ding also has an LTTB and an IS-3 up north protecting that one cap. Just make sure there's no cap rushes coming out of there. Both 1390s of Hugh are going to get up into the Kilo 0 corner, excuse me. And they're going to get some fire pretty quickly here from most of the guns of Ding. The rest of the IS-3s coming across that field. They're going with a hard field push. MT-25 sitting behind the rock just south of the 2 cap. Shots going out already. Rufus. Rafidus. I'm going to butcher these names all night, guys. Sorry about that. But one of the IS-3s of Hugh is already taking a shot. The 1390s are sitting down there. Nothing there to light them, so they're good in camo for now. They can out view range the IS-3s of Ding, so they need to be careful of that. But they don't look to be in a position where they're peaking these 90s. Double IS-3s pushing onto the 2 cap for Hugh here, trying to get the cap pressure going. LTTB for Hugh has left the north cap and is coming around the city to get that flank on. Looks like Mr. Gordon Freeman's moving over there to join up with him, so he's not isolated. And most of the forces of Ding are gathering up in this Delta village, getting ready to push onto this cap. 30 seconds or 30 ticks down on the timer. Don't know the exact equivalent, but it's about halfway through. About 30 seconds left with 2 on cap. And just like that, the LTTB and Mr. Gordon Freeman is down for Ding. That being said, all the rest of their guns are poking. They get the reset. One of the IS-3s has been hit. The other still has cap point, and he's been reset too. Both IS-3s of the cap have been reset. The LTTB doing great job for Ding in the middle there, getting the resets from that angle. Looks like flashing, and the IS-3 of Ding is moving over there as well. The rest of the heavy tanks of Ding are just choosing to sit up here. And a flanking force from Hugh is coming into the town right here. The 5100's isolated. It doesn't see him yet. They're not careful. The 5100 could go down with these double 90s. IS-3s are moving in. They're getting off cap. They're getting ready to start this fight. 90s are going after this 5100. They trade shells. IS-3s of Hugh are taking damage getting in. Ding just controlling that crossfire. And Felipe is getting absolutely focused by the IS-3s and 5100 of Ding. IS-3s are just getting into the fight. They're focusing this fight in the Delta Village right now. Shots going down. 5100 almost down. Both 90s are one-shotters now. IS-3s are still getting in there. They're dinged up. Excuse the pun there, but they are getting in there. MT-25 might go down here in a second. MT-25 does go down for Hugh, but the 90s get shots off. But Roma sacked, getting out of there. Hugh just not doing good in the HP right now. Ding is just tucked in, playing this whole Fox line, not peeking, not giving Hugh anything, and they're trying to claw in, but they're not getting it done. LTTB of Romstar is getting great flank shots on Zion here. He's moving across. He has to back off, tries to get the snapshot, but misses. That's huge. Tiago going down for Hugh. One gun advantage for Hugh, and it looks like Ding NA is pushing in here to go for the final blow. They're going to try to focus out those 90s on the left first. They're both one-shotters. Going around on both sides, so those 90s have nowhere to go. The track shot onto Matt Knight, but Flashin doesn't make the same mistake. He goes down. Felipe is going to be next. Rufus is trying to get in there to save his buddy, but it's going to be too little, too late. Ding just coming through here, cleaning up everything. Down goes Zion. It's just down to Rufus, and he goes down. First match goes to Ding. Pretty decisive. You know, assaulting that Delta Village from the south, that much weight is really hard to do, especially when you have the crossfires set up. They had the chance with the 90s, but they couldn't get that 5100 down, and they took too much damage. Very close game, all in all. I mean, Ding had the strong side to start on. Hugh did what they could to claw into it, but they just couldn't get into it. They never had an HP lead there, and they just started from the bottom. So. Yeah, no, you hit it right on the head. And Marcella fired 3, only hit 2, and only 1 penned, though. 371 damage with 1 kill. You get an MT-25, never really got into that fight. I don't see a place for this MT-25 when their team's running 2 LTTBs. You know, he's just cap bait and eyes at that point. He can't do any damage, and he didn't even stay alive that long to give him any real eyes after the opening brawl there, so... You know, nothing you could really do. That being said, coming out of Ding, Papa John 997 for 2400, so pretty good shooting out of him. A couple of the shots were at range, so you know, a couple misses or bounces anyways are acceptable. And going on to Roma Sacred, same thing, 7 for 6, so 7 hits of his 7 shots, and 6 pen for 2100. So, you know, only one shot there bouncing, and you know they were engaging at range. My biggest concern is Denali, however you say his name, the Denial, out of Ding. Sorry, still butchering these names, guys. I will try to get them right eventually, but yeah, not the greatest. But he didn't get. My biggest concern there is he didn't get through his clip. He only got 5 shots off, and of that he missed 2. You know, when you're shooting, he had 13 90s engaged off that corner, so you know you'd expect those to pen. And even then, he didn't get his full clip off. So something going on there. I know he got focused, but in my opinion, the way that brawl went out, he shouldn't have been in a position where he would have been focused, or should have been focused. He should have at least gotten his clip off. Didn't really matter at the end of the day because Ding obviously cleaned up, but still, you know, 5100s. If you're bringing them, you're risking on it. You can't waste that many shots. So looks like map picks are coming through here. Go for it.
Yeah, it looks like finishing up the tank lineup here, and should be swapping out. Or are we staying? I'm not 100% sure on that. Are we staying with Ding on defense?
Yeah, so it'll be 2 per side, just like the Gold League. So we're gonna play another round of defense here for Ding, and then we'll switch sides. So same format the Gold League uses, a little bit different than the regular season during Silver, but you know this is the format they're gonna be playing going forward.
Getting them ready.
Yep, looks like they are ready with the lineups. Final tank picks go through. Hugh has given the okay to start, so we'll be starting here any minute. Once again, it's 1-0 to Ding. You know, Ruinberg is one of those maps you can see going 2-2. It's really hard to crack that defense. If one team can crack, you know, can take around while they're on offense, it's going to give them a huge advantage going into that second map. And Steps is one of those maps where if you really want to turtle, you can turtle well. And oh boy, that's all I got to say from that. Hugh with the tanks going with 5 IS3s and 2 LTTBs. So bringing in the weight. Maybe they feel that with, you know, instead of the 90s just going straight heavy and pushing into that town, they can win in the brawl. And the 90s didn't allow them to do that. So we'll see. Or they could be going for a North Cap. I don't know. Ding, on the other hand, going out with the same lineup as last time, 5100, 4 IS3s, and double LTTB. We will see what happens here. Q, just like I expected, are still going for the south. So my guess is they're just going to try to get up into that Delta Village and just out-brawl Ding. I think that's what they're comfortable with. I think they feel they can win in a brawl. Which, I mean, if you're bringing 5 IS3s and you're going for the 2-cap, you better be willing to brawl because you're not going to cap out on that 2-cap. Not with IS3s. You're not going to get a cap fast off. If you do, it's a huge mistake out of Ding's part. Not one I think they're likely to make. Matt Knight already taking damage, got shot by the IS3s on the cross. Gordon Freeman doing a good job of getting the lights, and the IS3s all there queued up this time and actually took advantage of it. Matt Knight got lucky and only took 1 shot. If one of those other IS3s had landed a shot, he could have gone down. Gordon Freeman trying to light, probably going to get lights on the IS3s crossing out here. Ding is still set up with the 5100 IS3 up north. If they don't rotate those guns quickly south and Q pushes these guns, they're going to be in trouble. But it looks like a 5100 and LTTB at Ding are going to go ahead and push down the 1 line or 0 line all the way down to Kilo 0 and get tucked in there. This is going to be a huge pain in the rear end here for Hugh. They're going to try to push through, but that IS3 is going to have clean shots on the backside. Could really spoil a push for Hugh here. They need to find a way to get him down, in my opinion, first before they start this brawl. Snapshots coming out on a Papa Dion. Oh, my Lord. Great shots. Shots going south onto that south IS3, but none connecting. Hugh just tried to push through into this town. Zion clearing the field. He's going to find Flash in here. Might get a shot off. Doesn't even look like he sees them. He fires north, but misses. 3 IS3s for Hugh on cap. Looks like they are going for the cap fast, but I don't see that happening with the IS3 of Ding down in the south. Getting a shot on Zion. Zion's trying to screen that Echo 6 cross, and he's taking damage from the LTTBs down south. They're going to try to deny that line. 1 reset coming through. 2 resets coming through. Tiago and Felipe both down. 5100 unloading to Marseille. They've gotten full resets. 5100 for Ding, almost going down though. Down to a 2-shot. LTTBs are out of the fight. They're coming in. Zion getting focused down to a 1-shot. LTTBs are coming up this Echo line, but I don't think they're going to get into the fight in time. IS3 to the south is still pouring out shots. Marcelo's down. Felipe and Tiago are both one-shotters. Matt Knight got hit again and is down to 91 HP, barely getting out of there. This route just not going in favor of Hugh. They tried to go with the Cat Fest and had it just absolutely shut down. Ding did a really good job at reading that, moving that IS-3 down into the south to make sure they guaranteed that cap. Papa Dion coming in here to clean up Felipe. Matt Knight trying to help out Rufidos, but he's just not going to be able to do enough. The other LTTB of Morgan Freeman's coming after Matt Knight, and Higa takes him down. 2 tanks left for Hugh, but they're just not going to be able to claw into this. One more tank goes down, just an LTTB left for Hugh, and he is running away into town. And he goes down with a shot out of flash and in the IS-3. 2-0, favor of Ding.
Just Hugh just gave up that 0 line down there and just allowed the crossfire.
Yeah, no, they never got into a position where they could really contend that. With a tank down there, you can't sit there and mind cap that opinion. You have to push through. You have to either start that fight up in the Delta Village to where that IS-3 in the south can't get his shots consistently, or you need to find a way to focus him down while the other guns aren't shooting at you, but they just let him sit there and just wail off shots. You know, they just couldn't do anything against that defensive hold of Ding. They had to make a decision and go. So just not coming through. That being said, we're swapping sides. So, you know, like I said, this map favors defense, in my opinion, heavily. So we will have to see if Hugh can hold out here versus...
Ding took a big risk. I mean, they put that IS-3 and that LTTB on there, separating their forces pretty spread out before they finished the rotate from the north. But just Hugh just did not notice it and was not able to push through. They just kept up with their same strategy and didn't react to what Ding was doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, it looks like Hugh had the mindset, we are going to go out here and we are going to try to cap this out. We're going to put the cap pressure on, bait them into the guns. And, you know, and that's what it set up. I just don't see the bait into the guns. They had to just be going for the cap because I think they know that those IS-3s on the cap can't get the damage off. And when you have 3 IS-3s on cap, you only have 4 guns left to do the damage. And you had the LTVs in town where they're only going to get shots on 1 or maybe 2 tanks if the Delta Village is sloppy with their peaks.
Those LTTBs are just completely ineffective.
Yeah, no, let's pull up the stats here. Take a look at it, because I feel like those LTTBs just weren't in the fight long enough. And exactly what I thought. The LTTBs of Hugh just not doing anything. Matt Knight, 10, 6, and 2 for 322. So he only got off 2 shots. And the other LTTB got off 0 damage. Big fat goose egg with 10 shots fired. I know it's LTTBs at range, but they were essentially out of the fight. You know, that's two tanks not in that fight, and left it up to the IS-3s, and 3 of them were on cap where they couldn't get damage off. So...
Did I get his full clip off again this time? The 5100
got his
on
full clip
Ding.
off. Yeah, he got his full clip off, but he still missed a shot. You know, 655 though for 1300. He was the one that got most of the resets. He peaked, he ate the IS-3 shells, and he made sure he put a shell into each of them and got the resets, and I think that was his goal. And I think that shows up with the 39 defense points there, so him getting most of the resets through that match. I think that's just kind of his goal, is the IS-3's hold, and the 5100 deals with getting the resets there.
Biggest thing is they just allowed them to have that crossfire, and they didn't react.
No, definitely agree. They just didn't react. They set with the mindset that they were going to get on that cap, and it didn't matter what Ding did, but it didn't matter. You know, that South IS-3, let's pull up the numbers. Who was the South IS-3, if I can remember? That was, out of that one...
And Papa.
Was it Papa? So, 988. So, you know, for 2600, only 1 shot missing at that range is great shooting. He did have 27 cap points, so it probably was him up there. So, you know, really good shooting. He got put in a position. Ding said, go ahead, take your best shot, and he took his best shots. So,
all right,
we'll
tank selection. Tank selection's done. Should be starting up here pretty soon. We're going to swap. Ding will be on the offense, and Hugh defending up this time. If they can come out of this hole of 2-0, or if they can bring it back. We're going to match it up before we move on to steps.
So, lineups here coming out of Hugh again. 5100, 4 IS3s, and 2 LTTBs. So, still favoring the LTTBs. They're not bringing that MT25 anymore. So that screams big turtle in the Delta Village, just like Ding did. So we'll see how they set up. Ding, on the other hand, dramatically changing up that lineup, bringing triple T54 lightweights, triple IS3s, and a T37. Ding is going with the south push right off the bat. They are coming out of the south with those LTTBs. Morgan Freeman and that T37 is going to do the scout run in the middle here. The 2 IS3s of Hugh are set up to try to get the cross. The lights don't come out. He gets out scot-free. No shots fired. They never saw him. He's trying to light him again. He ducks back down. He finds the LTTB and Matt Knight. Lightweights of Ding are getting into that bottom corner, lining up shots. Morgan Freeman getting right on cap, but it looks like he's going to drive straight through just to get the lights for Ding. They're getting those lightweights up there. They're taking advantage of the terrain, trying to get those lightweights hold down to get some shots. And Hugh is just not in a position to defend this village yet. They need to hurry up and get down there. The IS3s of Ding are closing quickly. They're getting in positions to cover them. Looks like one of the IS3s out of Hugh is coming down from the north, getting into there as well. So it's just the LTTB left in the north, but he hasn't flexed yet, so he's sitting there. Morgan Freeman goes down for Ding at the expense of Matt Knight losing half his HP. So could argue a decent trade there. I don't know if, he's going to lose some of their vision, but those lightweights aren't blind, so they're still going to be able to see him. One IS3 of Ding is getting onto cap here. Looks like they tried to do the push up into the Fox 6 cubby, but they failed. They're giving up on it now, and they're just coming over here to get in. It's nice when you can get a tank up there, but if you don't have it practiced well, you're not going to get it off. Q putting out great fire on these lightweights. One of them down to 542, the other down to 824. And Romstar already focused down to a one-shot. Hugh doing a great job at putting out fire south. Ding, though, has the cap up to half. Matt Knight's trying to move south here to open up the reset shots. He's going for it. He's trying to find it. Looks like the IS3s are moving forward to get the resets. They need to clean these guys off and then go back to dealing with those lightweights. One reset comes through out of Felipe down here in that same spot that Papa was in last round. Got one reset. Tiago going out to make sure he gets the reset. Cap up at 87. They need to hurry up and land a reset. Tiago aiming, taking damage. Down to 60. They got one reset, but not all the way. Tiago getting focused here. Down to a one shot. Down to almost dead. Cap still at 82. Still needs a reset. Cap at 90. And the reset finally comes through on Denali. Gets it down, but the cap pressure's still underway. Hugh's not in as strong a position as they were before. Two of their IS3s baited out in the open, just like Ding wanted. Focusing them down. And all of a sudden, Ding are back in this. Low on HP. They have the cap. Rufidos is emptying his clip here at his 5100. Gonna try to focus down with a bounce coming out of him. Felipe taking down the last lightweight. It's just down to these 3 IS3s on cap. They need to give up this cap. They need to push out and pick one direction and focus. Looks like that's what they're doing. They're trying to find a shot on his Zing. 2 bounces out of here. One of them hitting the hole of the T37, which Zion is very cleverly using as cover.
Felipe clipping and they just can't get to him.
Yeah, he's clipping. He's doing a good job at baiting them out into their guns. Papa trying to find a shot at him, but can't. Looking hard for him. The other IS3 on cap, and this looks like it's going to be in Q's favor. Papa going down. Here's second, goes down finally. Just down to the last IS3 of Rom Sacred on cap. LTTB gets tracked, doesn't do for damage. The IS3 of Felipe bounces. Zion lining up the shot, doesn't bounce that one. Rufidos should be loaded, coming in here. Fires one, takes the shot, and the LTTB finishes him off. 2-1 favor of Ding still, but Hugh showing that they're just as good at defense as Ding. What a fight. That was a lot of very good fire early from Hugh coming out. They made sure to take control of that 0 line. They didn't let, they tried to move those lightweights up into there, and they made sure that they couldn't get there. Felipe coming up huge for Hugh there. 12 shots fired, 11 hits for 9 penetrations for a whopping 3,200. Would have liked to see all 12 hit, and at least one more of those pen. But 3,200 damage, you can't complain. Did his job down there, made up for Thiago's goose egg. Thiago fired 2, didn't get any resets, didn't even hit either of his shots. So, if you're gonna get 2 shots off, you better make them hit, just not coming through here. Got lucky that the rest of his team stepped up and carried. Rafidos firing 11 shots in a 5100, 9 hitting, 7 penning. Once again, Hugh won, but I am not a fan of those numbers. You got to do better at a 50. You got to make those shots count. I know they're a Brazilian team and they're playing with big ping, but when you're playing a team like Ding, you can't afford those misses. You got to slow it down a little bit and make those shots count. And Ding just
those 54, those 54s got in a position and just could not hold it. Those IS3s weren't up there quick enough, and Hugh was able to poke them out because the Romstar 9 shots fired, 1 hit, Flash and 8 fired. The 54s they had the position, they just couldn't hold it. And then they allowed Felipe to get in there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Felipe probably doing most of the damage there, especially when you pushed off late onto those lightweights. Romstar, like you said, 951, only got off 1 shot of damage. Even if he is blind firing a bit of that, you still expect some more of those to hit. Looks like we are getting a sub out of Hugh right now. Changing the lineup, bringing in someone else. Go over that once the battle starts. I'm going to have to say it's more performance issues. It's got to be my gut, but we'll get over that once the lineups are finalized here. I honestly, if I was the captain of Hugh and I saw those numbers that I'm looking at right now, not gonna point them out, but I would have made the same call. You can't have that in a match of this caliber. But overall, Ding, Papa doing pretty consistent. 7 fired, 6 hit for 5 pens, so 2 shots questionable there, but still pulling in 1900, top of the leaderboard there. Stitchy. Once again, sorry for butchering the names. Was the only lightweight that got into position and it actually did work. And if I recall, he was the front one behind the dirt there. So he had the best cover. He was also the most exposed as far as being the easiest one to get lit. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Tank picks are coming through out of both teams right now. Be another minute or so before that's finalized. Q needs to pick up this one. If they make it 2-2, it's anybody's game going into steps. And if it gets down to it, it's going to be a tiebreaker. And tonight's tiebreaker is Ghostown. So, I've played Ding on Ghostown.
I look forward to it.
And if it goes that far, knowing how Q like to play and how they like to set up and Ding style on city maps like that, it will be a entertaining fight. But we still got to get through another 5 matches if it goes that far. So we'll have to see. Hugh's got to close this gap right now, though. You can't let a round slip while you're on defense on Ruinberg. You cannot do it. So we will have to see. Lineups are almost finalized. Hugh is giving the okay to start, and we will be starting up here momentarily. So, while we're waiting to start here, I'm going to go ahead and just give out shout out to everybody in chat watching the stream right now. Thank you guys for tuning in to watch it with us. Hopefully my mispronunciation of names and amateur casting is not too terrible for you guys. Feedback is always welcome. That being said, match is starting. Hugh going with the exact same lineup, 150-100, 4 IS3s, and double LTTB. Identical lineup coming out of Ding with triple IS3s, triple T54 lightweights, and a T37. Hugh making a lineup change. Trifo coming in the IS3 replacing Tiago. Whether that was because of connection issues or performance issues, he got subbed out. So we'll have to see. Like I said earlier, I'd have to say that would be performance issues. I'm just not showing up today, not putting up the numbers. That being said, we're seeing the same thing out of both teams. Lightweights are coming out of Ding, coming south heavy with the IS3s, and Hugh is setting up, lining up shots on that 37. Do they get the lights in the shots? No shots go out, so not getting any shots onto him. 37 is going to go do the same thing, trip cap and find that LTTB. They're going to try to focus him down. T37 choosing to skip by cap this time, not setting off the cap. And Hugh hasn't rotated yet. And if they're not careful, this front IS-3 of Felipe is going to get focused down. Matt Knight already taking damage. Felipe putting out a shot into the T-37, but he's about to get isolated. He's moving down, and those lightweights are sitting there ready for him. Ding moving through to Cap. I think there's a quote that goes something along the lines of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting it to work. And that's what I'm afraid of right now for Ding. Looks
Ding's
like they're setting
actually
up.
skipping the Cap and going around, it looks like.
Yeah, it
Actually
looks like
pushing
they're
it.
trying. They're trying to get this Cap, and this could be terrible for Hugh. Hugh still have 3 tanks up in the north, both LTTBs and an IS-3. And Ding is just going to go for this brawl. They're moving their tanks up the screen. The lightweight of Romstar is sitting back. I'm going to guess that he's going to move forward and get on Cap right now, which is what it looks like he's going to be doing.
Felipe is pretty close to getting isolated out here.
Yeah, he's looking for the shots. He's going to eat. Does he get spotted? The gun's returning. Shot goes out. He gets one on deny. Takes a respawn shot. 1-for-1 trade. You got to try to avoid those. Don't want to be giving up HP. They're not in critical positions right now, and the rest of the guns aren't there. Looks like the rotation's coming through out of Ding, both LTBs. Nice 3 moving south. Trifo moving from the north, finally leaving that up. Both LTBs look to be heading into the north to clear that, make sure there's no flank coming out here. And that one lightweight sitting on Cap. If Felipe is not careful, he's got to be focused here. Dinger waiting for this. He's gonna one shot goes out to Xeon, but I'm worried for Felipe here. He's gonna get focused. He doesn't have cover right now, and they're choosing instead to focus on Zion, who's permatracked right now. He's caught out in the open. Raphados is moving in. IS-3s from Hugh are moving in to get that reset. They're lining up a shot. Not taking it. Felipe just getting absolutely focused. Everybody. Reset coming through, but at the expense of Felipe. He goes down. Perfect trap sprung by Ding, making me eat my words about doing the same thing. They changed it up, tweaked it cleverly, and it looks like they're a nice advantage. IS-3s are pushing on design here. Is just a 2-shotter, a 1-shotter with a high roll. Raphados trying to make these IS-3s back off, putting out what shots he can, but taking a lot of damage. He's down to 500. Zion down to 588. He's now a 1-shot. Both these tanks, the IS-3s of Hugh, are trying to get into this fight. Same with the LTTBs. They're trying to distract them. It's going to come down to Marcel and Trio need to get into this fight and clean up these IS-3s quickly, or this fight's over.
Finish off the 5100.
Yeah, 4-tank lead for Ding here. Hugh just not doing the same thing, and Ding came up with an answer. Doing a really good job. And Ding are going for the push to finish this off. Only 2 tanks left, these IS-3s. And it's going to be 3-1 Ding. Last lightweights are coming in. I'm going to focus out Marcelo.
Even towards the end, a lack of focus fire.
Yeah, no, that'd be my biggest concern with Ding, especially when we played them. Their focus fire was not the strongest in previous experiences. They looks like they were. My biggest concern there is obviously the trap worked, but it looked like they were setting up to try to do it exactly what they did in the end, which was bait that IS-3 to go down in that 0 line again. And they chose to ignore him early, even though they were set up for it, and go for the IS-3 of Xeon. It worked in this case, but people spreading their fire, and I think what happened was they decided that they already started on Zion and they had the shots, and so they went with him and hesitated, and it took a little bit while longer. And if Hugh was smarter, they would have, or not necessarily smarter, but had seen what we saw, they would have moved their guns in quicker. I don't think they realized exactly where those IS-3s were. Lack of vision coming out.
You think they just passed it off as far as in their comms? Because they had 254 lightweights down on that 0 line. They said pretty much, hey, you guys handle that one while we'll focus out this other IS-3. He was on the move, and at that point, Hugh just left the 54s and everything that was in the south alone, so allowing them to focus out Felipe as he pushed down that 0 line.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, end of the day, they did get both those takes down, and they created that overmatch. Hugh bringing in those 2 IS-3s down south, and they were there to get the resets. But the problem is you had 2 IS-3s, a majority of your weight, down south and out of the fight. I just
Going through stats
worry
here.
for Q. Worry about Q there. It was really predictable, and Ding did a good job reading it. Just slight change. Stats 644 out of Raphidos. So once again, making 2 of those shots miss out of the 5100. IS3 is not doing any better. 442, 432. IS3 is just not putting off the damage. Now, whether that was just they weren't in the position or they were missing those shots, it's hard to say the positions they were in. And the LTB is largely ineffective out of Q again. 932, 322. Just not getting off the damage you need out of those 7s. And Ding, complete opposite, putting up 977 out of Papa. Coming up huge here, 2300. I think that's the 3rd out of 4 rounds he's been top on that damage board. So really
MVP
consistent
for this
player from him
matchup.
there. Yeah, so far you gotta give it to him. So that being said, 3-2 lead for Ding. They are 2 rounds away from making it into the WGLNA Gold League. So a few other fill-ins here just for the audience out there. The losers of this match and of the Clueless Cluely Bobbers match still have a shot at the Gold League. They will be playing the 9th, or no, it'll be the 8th and 7th place team of the Gold League for a relegation battle to decide whichever winner of each of those matches stays in the Gold League. So those 2 teams from the Gold League will each get one of these Silver League teams, and whoever wins those fights stays in the Gold. So they're not completely done and out if they don't win this match. That being said, they're going to miss out on an additional 30,000 gold and a Hype 59. Looks like lineups are just about finalized here. Couple of very interesting tank choices out of both teams here, and this should be good. Battle starting. All right. So, once again, out of Hugh starting defense. So they get the stronger side, in my opinion, to start this match, bringing double 32, T32, 4 T54 lightweights, and a T37. Ding, on the other hand, bringing 2 IS3s, 4 T54 lightweights, and an M44 Arty. Once again, I'll eat my words about neither of these teams bringing Arty. Looks like Hugh is going for a standard turtle. 32s are going towards the 2 cap. And they're going to clear this 2 cap and then set up to defend the 1. Problem is, Ding wants this 2 cap, and they are going straight for it right now. Leaving the M44 in the middle, kind of vulnerable, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter in this case. If Q was set up in a different way and Ding was still running the strat, I'd be worried for him, though. Lightweight's getting the spots out of Matt Knight here, lighting up a majority of Ding right now. Ding are kind of hesitating. They're staying in the low ground, not trading, but they know that lightweight's there, so they might hesitate and rotate back the other way. M44 is now moving over. Going to probably get down into that Kilo Zero corner to open up the artillery shots. Kilo Zero on steps probably an artillery player's favorite, especially for working on this 789 line here. Romstar taking a shot. Ding just holding this defense. 32s are sitting in back, and the lightweights are sitting up front. They're trying to use the 32s to cover the lightweights. Lightweights are now running, though, and it might be too late. They might take some damage here. Raphidos getting focused down to 770. Taking out another shot, 520, down to a 2-shotter. He's trying to get out of there, trying to get to the low ground. Tanks are peeking, but shots out and missed, and he gets out of there with his life. 32s are now taking point. The heat shell coming out of that M44, landing on that 32, but not penning, hitting the turret. That's a risk you run with Arty. Your heat shells don't have a whole lot of pen, especially versus T32s, but your HE shells, won't do as much damage if you don't get, even if you don't pen. And then you got to deal with the RNG just in general. Got to make sure shots hit. Another shot out onto the side. Marcelo doing a great job at angling and staying hull down, taking a couple bounces here. Lightweights are rotating away, getting in the high ground. Zion, if he's not careful, he gets to this rock. If he's not careful and these lightweights don't cover him, he's going to be in a world of hurt. Zion is going to get rushed here by both tanks. These lightweights need to get in position to help him. They need to punish him. Rum Sacred taking some damage, doing a decent job, and it looks like the lightweights out of Hugh are coming in right now. Felipe moving up, Matt Knight moving up. Looks like T-37's choosing to stay out of the fight, and Rathados being low on HP, sitting back there trying to bait some shots from the rock.
IS-3's moving in.
IS-3s are moving in. 32's got him focused down. First lightweight goes down for Ding. Hugh doing a great job at focusing fire. Going to try to get Denali here. Next one's going to be Rom. 32s are working on the IS-3s. Actually, take that back. Trifo's choosing to skip the IS-3s and come help with these lightweights. Lightweights are going to push on to Papa. Marcelo doing a great job at holding off these IS-3s, but putting a shot into the dirt. He's going to eat the next volley here. Hugh need to hurry up and get this last lightweight down and move on to help out this 32. Hugh splitting their forces. Half of them are going to go for the 32s, half of them are going to get this lightweight, and this is going to be a round in favor of Hugh. In my opinion, this round, MVP has to go to Marseille.
Yeah, 1v2 versus 2 IS-3s.
1v2 IS-3s, and he's still alive at this point. You know, he worked on both of them. He didn't kill either of them, but he put off so much damage and played his tank very well. Got a lot of bounces. I'm going to be interested to see how many shots exactly he ate on that turret. We just got to wait for Hugh to go clean up artillery right now. They're going to go look around and find him. He's going to be in that bottom corner, and he's surely going to go down. You know, Hugh not being indecisive. They're sending all their tanks there. Even if one of them go down, they have the other 6 there to kill him, and there he goes. Looks like some friendly fire going out. Yeah, was that from the Arty or was that from friendly?
It was from Zion there.
Yeah.
Pull up stats here. Check out Marcel.
Let's pull up some stats. Marcel having 10 shots hit. Only 4 of them pen with 6 non-pens for 1,100 blocked. So essentially blocking 3 shots out of an IS, 3 to 4 shots depending on the rolls out of IS-3s for just straight no damage, and probably another couple going into that track as those non-pens. So great play out of a T-32 there. Absolutely phenomenal. Zion coming up huge. 10 for 14 or 10-9-9, so only missing 1 shot, and he was sitting back for a large portion of the game, so shooting at distance, so not bad there. And it was Zion that put that shot into Matt Knight. It looks like it was an HE shell, though, because it was only for 14 damage and didn't kill him. So probably load the HE for the RD, try to shoot him at distance, and hit his teammate. Whether it was some friendly inter-team rivalry going there.
I think that was more of a hit, because it looks like Felipe actually had a shot for 281. So he was the one,
nope, you're right. So yeah, so that must have been a bump damage maybe in the brawl out of Zion there, and Felipe landing a shot onto the team there. Looks like that was at the end. So after the fight, you know, going over to Ding, that already largely ineffective. 8 shots fired for 3 hits for 0 damage. Maybe Gordon Freeman's not an artillery player. Just brought the artillery because they needed someone to play it. You know, as much as we love to hate on artillery and pub matches, it can be pretty vital here. You need it to put out damage if you're going to bring it. Otherwise, it's a waste of that tier 6 slot. You can't underestimate. You can't just say, all right, you're the worst player. You're going to go play RD. It is not hard to play. If you don't have experience in RD and you're not used to the timings of the particular RD you're playing, especially shooting at the ranges that he was shooting at, it can be kind of difficult. I am not trying to say RD is hard for people. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it is in this sort of format and this sort of play. You cannot just put somebody into RD and expect them to perform if they've never played it before. Have to have a little bit of practice time in it. So I wonder if that was an issue there. Looks like tank picks are coming out of both teams again. Almost done. This series is tied 3-3. Hugh get one more round on offense. We have a score update out of the other game. It is 2-1 to the Googly Bobbers over Clueless. Once again, those teams as well playing for a shot in the Gold League. Same thing over there, though. Both teams have shots. Go for it.
Actually, 3-2. This is the first. This was Hugh's first defense on steps. So, and Ding took 3 on Ruinberg, so it'll be 3-2.
Oh no. Yep, you're correct. 3-2. So one more round, be tied off 3 all. So if you can hold out on defense here. Hugh giving the okay, and we are launching. So yeah, my bad. We are definitely 3-2 in favor of Ding still. But Hugh have another round on defense, and last round I don't want to say flawlessly. Yeah, pretty
Decisively.
decisively at the end, but a lot of room for improvement. And as we saw last round, Ding, if you do the same thing they did, Hugh showed that they can look at your lineup the first time and adapt for the second one. Interesting lineup here out of Hugh, choosing to go with triple T32. T32 no con. I get it, but 3 T32s takes away a lot of mobility, and that mobility is exactly what saved Hugh last time. They were able to get out of that fight once Ding pushed them, and they used that mobility in their favor, and they're going a little bit heavier. So whether they're worried about the artillery, which I'm not sure going heavier is how you'd counter that. Maybe they're not worried about the artillery because they didn't do any real damage last time. Ding, on the other hand, going in with the same setup they did last time. They're going south. They're looking for shots. Zion and Felipe peeking up here. Matt Knight taking the low ground, looking down the 0 line. T32s are trying to stay unspotted largely. They're not really peeking. They're just letting the lightweights do the work. Hugh trying not to give away too much of their strats.
It's like Ding's just pushing through a little bit faster this time.
They're starting their push. These lightweights need to get out of here. They're going to have these IS-3s right on top of them. They're choosing now to go. Matt Knight's going to eat a shell here. Nope. Doesn't get the shot off. Shot going out and deny instead. Lightweight choosing to go out into the field, probably trying to get into the low ground there, get some cover. All 3 of these T32s are front and center for Ding. They are sitting there. Are all in front. Blah. Oh my god, I cannot talk right now. Too much talking. Anyways, T32s up front and center for Hugh. Them seeing that Ding were struggling with those 32s last round. They're working on it, so they probably figured, let's bring another one and just shut down this 2-cap. So Ding trying not to peek too much. They're sitting back from the hill, trying not to get lit so that Artie doesn't get free shots out. Gets an HE shell out onto Trifo for a little over 200. He's going to need to land, 3 or 4 more HE shells if they're not going to pen to really do anything. And that front IS-3 getting just absolutely lit up by those T32s, down to half his HP, down to 699. A lightweight down in the low ground. Another artillery shot coming out around 200 again. So artillery starting to be a little bit more effective this round.
Yeah, Matt Knight and a 37 just going ahead and trying to get an angle.
Yeah, 37's going down there. Matt Knight's trying to open up guns in this field. He needs to not be spotted, though, because the second that they spot him out of there, they may try to force a push. Another artillery shot going out for no damage. Missed. Hugh are doing a really good job defending. They're using those 32s, and they're just denying this cap. 4 minutes left on the timer. That M44 needs to put out some more shells right now. But that being said, Ding, I feel that Ding need to start their push within the next, minute or two to have a shot at this. If you get that down to a minute or two, Hugh can just run away these lightweights and hide for the last minute. And, defense is going to get the win. A couple more artillery shots have gone out here. A couple minor splashes. Zion taking a big hit there out of the lightweights. Lightweights are trying to control this field. Looks like the IS-3s are resorting to firing HE at these 32s, chipping away a couple hundred HP at a time, but not getting any full pens.
Papa John about to get taken out, but it says T-37.
Yeah, but the T-37 or T-54 lightweight of Rom Sacred coming out on the T-37 here. But they get the lightweight down. They figured, all right, we're going to get the better trade there. We'll lose a 6 for an 8. Told them to stay there, make sure he got his shots off and got the kill down. And now 37 goes down, but Matt Knight's running away. Another shell from artillery coming out. Yep. Down to 900. There's still those 32s, though. It's just not enough. They need to start this push here in the next minute, or they're not going to have a shot at this. Ding's already down a lightweight. You got to get through these 3 32s, and there's no easy approach, especially for these IS-3s. You have to group up. Another shot coming out for 197. So 2 of these T-32s below 1,000 now, just barely. But Ding are running out of options.
Hugh still has the HP advantage, it seems.
Still up on HP. Another shot coming out, going for 800, but 230 left on the clock. You got to make your move right around now, or you're going to run
Just
out of time.
Stalling out. Time's running out.
Time's running out, and those IS-3s, problem with bringing IS-3s, they're not fast, and if you get shut down like this, you can't do anything with them. You can't flex them. They have to go straight up, and those 32s in those positions, even on a low HP, they're going to have, they're probably going to at least kill Flashin', if not both of those IS-3s. Two lightweights coming up here in the middle here for Ding, trying to find Matt Knight. Matt Knight's in a position to light them. He's going to back down the second he lights them. I doubt he's going to stay there. First shot misses on Matt Knight. Matt Knight has a chance. He eats a volley, but gets down. Zion's going to come help him out, and Felipe is in a position to come help him out as well. I think those 32s are just going to be content to sit there and deny those IS-3s. IS-3s are coming down through the field. Those 32s are in a good spot to deal with that. The lightweights are moving to deal with these lightweights in the south. I don't think they realize they have an overmatch here. Matt Knight getting focused. Zion and Felipe need to get in here, and they need to start this fast. They need to get this brawl started before Felipe goes down, or before Matt Knight goes down. IS-3s are coming in here. 32s are going to respond. Focusing down Stitch. Another lightweight down for Ding. Rob Sacred's going to be next. Matt Knight a one-shotter, but the other two doing very well. That IS-3. Romstar getting focused. Romstar's down to one. Rom Sacred is down to a couple. Romstar goes down. Rom Sacred getting focused. He's going to get focused here, and this match is going to go for Hugh. Those 32s are still tucked in. IS-3s are trying to work at him, but now the lightweights are free. They're going to come clean up Stitch. They're going to get some shots off on Flashin'. Artillery shot going out, landing short. Felipe closing in on Stitch. He's going to get the kill here. Flashin' getting focused, and he's going to go down. And once again, this is going to go in favor of Hugh on defense. Tying the series 3-all. Both these teams are now 2 rounds away from making it to the Gold League. Hugh used to be known as Timed Out, so they're no stranger to the Gold League. And as you heard in the pregame, Ding is a former Silver League team that's tried this once before. Came close, but missed out at the last minute. Artillery firing a shot here. Felipe closing the distance. 11 seconds left on the timer. And game over in favor of Hugh. Tied 3-3. It is a 2-2 tie out of the other stream in the Clueless versus Googly Bobbers match. Yeah, sorry. So, very even there. I will keep you guys updated for those that are choosing just to watch this stream. I'm sure most of you have most of these streams up right now. So, now here's the real question. Hugh have shown they can defend on steps. Can they attack? They need one round to force an OT right now, or if they take both, they're in the gold. Attacking steps is not easy. We will have to see. Let's pull up the stats here. Nagatron, if you're out there doing this for you. Felipe, 13 fired, 12 hit, 10 for 2,200 out of Q. So very consistent. And let's look at these 32 numbers. They didn't put out a lot of damage this game, but they didn't need to. They were just a roadblock. Trifo taking 4, 3 pens, 1 bounce. Marseille taking 7 hits, 5 pens, and 2 bounces. And Rafidos, 7 hits, 5 pens, and 2 bounces. So pretty consistently, all of them just absorbing damage, Ding let the artillery work. The artillery came up huge this round. Made up for that last round. He put up 1,400. My problem with Ding is they didn't give themselves a chance. The artillery did the best to open up this match for them. Going against 3-2-32s like that is going to be a hard fight, especially with the lineup that Ding brought. So the artillery, he got off almost 1,000 damage within the first minute of that, first 2 to 3 minutes of that fight when there was still room for Ding to attack. But the problem is the rest of the peaks out of Ding were sloppy. They gave up so much HP out of the rest of their tanks that HP lead that they gained from the artillery did not matter. Hugh trading shots, the minimum, nothing. I think that Ding would have been better off just letting the artillery work and taking minimal peaks and keeping their HP so they can group up in one force and just push into those 32s. That way, after they push on those 32s, they're going to eat damage, but then they're going to be even, and they give themselves a 50-50 shot starting that brawl. And instead, they never even had that opportunity because they just bled too much HP. They couldn't keep their guns into the fight.
Lost way too much HP on those IS-3s before the artillery was even able to work. And then at that point, the IS-3s are just stuck on one side of the map and not enough time to get to come up with anything else.
Yep. Final picks coming through here from Ding. Hugh have given the okay to start. Once again, folks, going into this, what will be the 7th battle now. We are tied 3-all. Hugh are on attack and Ding are defending. I think we're about to see something extremely cheeky out of Ding here. We'll have to find out if my gut feeling is right. I think we are, but we will see. You know, I'd have to give the advantage to Ding right now. They're going in defense. They showed on Ruinberg that they can play defense well. Let's see if they can do it here. So, tank lineups. IS-3, T-32, 4 lightweights, and a T-37 out of Hugh. Now, Ding, on the other hand, are bringing a 32, an RU, 4 lightweights, and a T-37. I'm going to put money that they're going to push that RU up into that A9 cubby and play defensive out of there. Let's see if I am right. Hugh deciding to go with a 1 cap here. So unlike Ding, they're favoring moving out to that 1 cap, and I called it spot on. T-54s are going over there. They're going to push that RU up into the cubby. 32 is going to come in here for the final push. I'm not a favor of Hugh. They're really lucky that all of Ding is trying so hard to make this push happen. They're getting all their tanks here. And they get them up there. Hugh, on the other hand, I'm not a favor of how they're set up. They have this IS-3 in the middle road coming up here with this lightweight. Those 2 tanks extremely isolated. Didn't obviously matter because Ding are going for that push. However, Hugh didn't know that. You know, we get the benefit of seeing both teams in spectator mode. They don't. They still have to light just like the normal tanks mechanics. Extremely fortunate that Ding weren't going with something crazy. A YOLO push up the middle, and those 2 are dead before the rest of those tanks even get in there. So we'll have to see. Rest of the tanks are moving into position for Hugh here. Blind fire coming out like crazy over towards this cap. Hugh, Ding know that they're not coming down that 2 cap. They would have seen them by now. The T-37 would have found them, so they know they're up here. Matt Knight getting up into that A2 ledge to try to return some fire. Marcelo coming out. Oh, taking so much damage. Light tanks are moving in. That RU's working them. He's trying to close into that low ground to get into that spot to light these tanks consistently. But 2 big hits there.
Got Tufio crossing
Getting
tracks.
focused. Getting focused again. Some shots being responded into Flash in here. We're losing 400 HP. The rest of Ding remaining largely intact right now. Hugh just bleeding HP at a T-32 though. Flashin's trying to get some shots, but the rest of the guns are focused on that corner, so he can't peek. He's in a blind spot for that T-32, so it's a rock between him and dying right now.
Ding's allowing them to set up a crossfire here, though. They're allowing them to get into position with the 2 heavies up front, even though Marcel's taking a lot of damage. So if Rufio can get up here, he can block off and help out Marcel.
T-37's getting on cap. HE shells going into that 32 of the turret from that RU. Not doing anything. Ding being forced to give up the north end of this bowl. So they're forced to go for the shots from the south. And I don't think the T-37 realizes it because he's in the one spot right now where the south can get the blind fires on him. He needs to move further north so he's out of those shots. First blind fire's coming over and he's getting lucky, sitting right there on that line. I think it's only a matter of time till these tanks of Ding find the resets here.
There it is.
First reset coming out. Hugh know where these tanks are. They've seen them. They know they're not in the North Bowl, but they let the T-37 sit there. In this on the one spot where they had good shots, he needed to move further to the north into the less obvious spot where there are less angles on it.
Papa just sitting up here firing.
Yeah, T-32, RU just pointing out shots. The rest of Ding just choosing to sit back. And unlike the last round at Ding are doing a really good job here at not giving up HP. They understand that they're not in a high pressure situation right now. They understand they don't need to give up HP and they need to keep it so they can defend well. And so they're not peeking out and they're not trading, even though Ding or Hugh are trying their hardest to get these blind fire shots off. Looks like the T-37's going on cap. He's getting blind fired again. One shot coming through. Looks like it was an HE shell maybe, or a shell out of a lightweight. He's choosing to get off. Looks like he's going to rotate out with maybe Matt Knight, and Matt Knight's going to get on cap now and try to rotate the HP. It's down to 230 though, and Hugh need to get something going. They're sitting too far back. At this point, I almost say they're complacent with just sitting here. It looks like they're going to try to go for a cap fest. They're going to try to move the T-37 and 2 of the lightweights on cap and just pray they cap it out. Don't think that's going to work like Ding. They'll just YOLO a tank in to get the resets, have the rest of their guns queued up there. This is the spot that I was saying that Hugh needed to take up early with the positions that Ding are currently sitting in. I don't know why they're moving south right now. They weren't lit. They're moving into the blind fire spot. Maybe they figure that Ding has blind fire that spot enough. They're not going to put tanks there again. You know, no lights. They're using the T-37 as hold down for Matt Knight. It's clever, but they're running out of time. Matt Knight cannot get reset from this point on, or solo cap is out of the question. So, blind fires are coming out. Cap's at 60. T-37 Morgan Freeman's YOLOing in. Zion's trying to focus him down. Other lightweights, they need to kill him. They need to get him before they crest this ridge. And they get him. Did they get the lights? Did they get the lights? Doesn't look like it. No shots. And there goes down 37. So they did light him. And now it's Matt Knight on cap. And Matt Knight gets reset. Rafinos going on to cap here. Trying their hardest to get the cap. Down to a minute 20 with 2 on cap. It's a minute cap. They still can do this by capping, and that's their only choice right now. They've lost too much HP.
They already know where they're at, though.
Yeah, they know where they're at. They know to aim off that corpse. If I was Felipe, I would just be on that top corner away from there so he doesn't even get touched. You know, they don't have vision right now. They don't need to be using that cover. That cover just gives them easy markings for the tanks of Ding to get these blind fire shots off on. You know, if they move a tank or 2 away, they're not going to get these same resets they're doing, and all Ding has to do is just firing these HA shells right now. The RU has got off that ledge a little while ago. He's gotten additional shots in here. Cap's at 40 with 40 seconds left. It's still possible for Hugh to take this. Finally, tanks coming out. Matt Knight getting off cap. Felipe gets reset, but it's Rafinos with the shots. The other tanks are trying to base some shots. Rafinos needs to not get hit. It's going to be close. 60, and there goes the resets. Game over. Game goes to Ding. Very, very competent in not giving up their HP until late here in the game when they needed it. Cap fast out of Hugh, just not working. Tanks going forward now, but it's just all for show at this point. There's no cap happening. Ding are moving 1 round closer to the WGLNA Gold League.
Got pretty close there a couple times. Again, like you said, Hugh gave him a target. They lined up on that dead corpse, and so Ding just knew where to blind fire.
Yep, it's things like that that separate a Silver League team and a Gold League team. And you know, if Ding are gonna push, or if you are gonna push into the Gold League here, they got to work on stuff like that. It's just the little things, the little intricacies. You know, you can leave 1 tank behind that cap to get the resets, but the other 2 aren't going to get the cover, or not get the resets, but to get the cap points out of it. The other 2 are going to be so far away that the angles are going to be real easy for their tanks to hit. You know, and if Ding lost their lights, the second that 37 died, they were down to their T-54s and RUs having to get the lights, and that's what Hugh wanted. They needed to force it earlier, though. I feel they took too long to claw into this. If Ding had started that maybe 2 minutes earlier, with that much intensity, they did a really good job at getting damage off, and they got it to a point where they probably could have pushed. The problem is they took too long and they didn't leave themselves time to push in. At T32 was full HP, he could have led the push. The lightweights that were out in the field were both full HP for the most part, and they never got spotted. And they tagged all of the tanks up to Ding to 700, and they left themselves that window. Problem is it was too late. They didn't do it soon enough. They didn't give themselves the chance, and Ding are 1 round away from going to the Gold League. If Hugh win, it's going to force an overtime match. If they lose, they have to go play a relegation battle, and Ding are going on to the WGLNA Gold League next season.
Stitch with 2,200 blocked out of that 32 from Ding. It's getting resets.
Pulling up the damage here. Like I said, Zion was that lightweight that was out in the field. Did a really good job at not being shot up until late, and he put off a lot of damage. 20 shots fired for 13 hits for 10 pens. So you figure a lot of that is extreme range with lightweight. Probably a lot of turret shots, so it's understandable to have some bounces in there, have some misses. Probably just trying to blind fire those bushes, make sure the T-37 is not sitting there. So 2,300 damage out of him total out of the 10 that did pen though. So great job there. Trifo at the next best, 3,200. He got a T-32 into that place. He worked that corner, and he made it hard for Ding to, he made him evacuate that North Bowl, which is what I'm pretty confident that Q were going for. They were trying to get control of that North Bowl because, they wanted to force tanks out of there, and they wanted to only have to worry about one angle. And they did that. Once again, took too long. And then the tank placement on Cap, I feel, could have been better out of Hugh. They could have made it harder. They could have made Ding have to force tanks in to get the lights. It was literally a matter of seconds, a couple feet for that T-37. If they'd gotten that shot off a split second sooner, they would have gotten that Cap because he never would have been spotted. That Cap was going to be at 90, and they would try to yell another tank, and they probably wouldn't have seen him in time. So, Hugh just slipping up there a little bit, or you could argue Ding very lucky with a lot of very good blind fire. Either way, tank picks are in, and we're going to be starting here in a minute. And we got lineup changes out of both teams. So, Hugh bringing 6 T-54 lightweights and the T-37. Like I said in pregame, a lot of T-54 lightweight spam. And Ding are 1 tank away from being a mere matchup. Choosing to bring a T-32 still to use that hold down to get those blind fires, give them a little bit of an anchor. But then going with 5 T-54 lightweights for the additional flex and the T-37 again for the lights. We have an interesting split coming out of Hugh here. 5 of the lightweights are going south. And 2 of them, of Hugh and Matt Knight, Matt Knight and Sed are going north in that T-37 up the 1 line. All the lightweights are grouped up here in the bottom. I think they're going for a trap. I think they're hoping that one of these lightweights overextends. No lights coming out of Q here. Some odd blind fire going into the south, but nowhere near Q, so I think they're still unspotted. That lightweight and T-37 out of Q are going to the normal spots. I think they're going to try to bait them into thinking they're going for the 1 cap again. They're going to show them the 1 lightweight. They're going to hope that Ding rotate, 2 or 3 tanks where they get this overmatch and they spring this trap. So right now it's all down to Ding and how well they get this vision out of there. This T-37's just sitting in the field, so not getting a whole lot of vision. Ding's still blind firing north, still not in the exact vicinity that those lightweights are, and they're not peeking. And here come, Matt Knight's coming up the middle here, getting in for the lights. T-37's on cap. I'm not sure if Gordon Freeman can spot that T-37 in that angle. If he can, he's lit already, and he's going to die here, and it's just a matter of time. Looking at it, I don't think he has line of sight on him. I think that rock is obstructing his view.
Hughes lining up, making a move.
Hughes Hugh's moving around. They may have this overmatch. It depends on how long they take to get spotted here and what sort of the reaction comes out of Ding. Lightweights are closing. Still no reaction out of Ding. They still don't see it. Rom Sacred and Romstar are about to be absolutely demolished. Spot comes in, the first volley goes out. Rom Sacred getting focused down to 700. Push is coming out. Matt Knight choosing to cross the field now. All the tanks of Deem coming south. It's gonna all on the line right here. Rom Sacred goes down for Ding. Romstar being the next one, still stuck in there. Getting great block out of Felipe, and he goes down. 2-tank lead for Hugh. All the lightweights in here. Matt Knight trying to get this 37 down. Sed getting in here, trying to get this other lightweight down. And Hugh are just starting to circle.
Pop John
Ding.
cut out.
Papa John caught out. They're starting to circle him like a wagon train. Ding are all balling up. The lightweights just acting like the Indians and the horses, circling them here. Going down. Flashing is going to get focused. The next lightweight surely is going to go down. All the guns still alive for Hugh. Felipe getting focused, but it's not going to matter. Still on 9 HP. He's choosing to get out of there. T-32s lines up shot, takes him down. But the other 6 tanks alive for Hugh. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the tiebreaker to decide which of these two teams goes to the Gold League.
Nice
4-4
job.
all. Absolutely flawless execution out of Hugh. I know I've been harping on him all night. Little mistakes here. Perfectly sprung trap there. Rom Sacred firing 8 shots, most of them blind fires, landing 0. Romstar firing 3, only landing 2. Those lightweights in the south there got absolutely shut down. Absolutely flawless out of Hugh. Ding focusing so much on that north cap. They were so confident that because they didn't spot anything south early, that they were going for that north cap. They seemed so sure of it. They were set up for it. They had 3 of their tanks isolated. They didn't get the vision they needed. They didn't spot that push out of Hugh early. And Hugh just absolutely capitalized on it. Did not give them a chance. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to Ghostown for the tiebreaker. We may have a few minutes wait here for our lovely dance to look over the replays and decide who starts on which side first. If it goes to quickest round, Hugh is going to get round pick because that last round had to be the quickest round we've played. I don't think any of the other fights have gone that quickly. Let me go ahead and contact Dance.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll go over the stats here for what we had. The T-37, Gordon Freeman out in the field. He's only able to spot the 2 once they actually pushed up on the cap. So, like Rock was saying, there's just no vision on there. So they assumed they were going for the cap fast based on all the entire lightweight. Nothing in the south. They put all those blind fires in the south in normal spots. Just huge held position. Allowed them to think one thing and then allowed Ding to rotate way too early before they knew. And that was just a complete rotation before they knew where the majority of their tanks were. Just really good play out of Hugh there. They pulled it together, and Ding just overconfident over everything else that they've gone so far tonight. And the focus fire finally came out of Hugh. I mean, I haven't seen that focus fire yet, and then Hugh finally pulled it together. This last match, the focus fire, definitely taking down the 2 lightweights pretty quick. Before that, Ding could rotate from the north back down, and then the T-37 and the lightweight that were setting the trap. The immediate once the brawl started, they didn't waste time. They immediately got back in there and took out the 37 and cleaned up the backside. So it was just real good teamwork and good calling.
Yeah, no, I'm watching the replay right now, and the reaction out of Ding says everything. The 2 tanks were looking to the north, the 2 most south tanks, so even they didn't have vision down there. They didn't even respond until, Hugh was over there, and they focused down that first tank so quickly. They did such a good job. And what happens with a lot of teams is they start off with this sort of push, and then they stall out after this. And Hugh did a really good job to make sure they kept the momentum going. They chased down the low HP tanks. They stayed together. They didn't let any one of their tanks get isolated out alone. And that's absolutely vital in these brawl situations. And they just absolutely clutch play out of Hugh. That's got to be the most clutch strat I've seen out of tonight. Perfectly read the situation. Great play in the most vital round. It's up there with the ding trap on their second round on offense when they baited that IS-3 out. Both of these clearly intentional, well-developed strats, just slight tweaks to the other team. And so far as that goes, reading their team, it's 1-1 to both. We are still going to be a few minutes here. It looks like the players have to send in their replays, trying to figure out who gets the first side or who gets the side pick on Ghostown. Just so you guys know, this is going to be a one battle takes all. So this is all on the line right now on Ghostown. Whoever wins this next match automatically goes up to the Gold League. On top of that, the team that loses tonight misses out on an extra 30,000 gold and a Type 59 for each player. That's over $1,000 difference in prize money, essentially. Well, it's not actual money. It's, value equivalent of in-game currency, which, for most of these players that are dedicated tanks players, they live this game. Most of these players are in big clans. They participate in clan wars and a lot of other activities. They play the game almost every day for the most part. So they want that gold on top of it. So we will have to see. And obviously, qualifying for the Gold League, you're going to go play for $150,000 per season. And that's real money. On top of just the whole experience of traveling to wherever they'll have the offline finals next season, whether that be in LA or Seattle or wherever they move it. This season it's going to be in LA. I should be attending, so I will see most of you that are watching the stream out there, especially any of the high voltage and noble guys. Look forward to meeting all of you. I'm really looking on a complete off-topic side note. We have time to kill here. I am really looking forward to high voltage versus noble coming up here. Where would you put your money on that matchup, Rev?
High voltage has been pretty consistent throughout there. There's nothing that every lineup that they've brought, they've been able to adapt to whatever little cheeky thing or every little niche strategy that somebody's had. So even watching some of their replays where they talk, it's fascinating sometimes to actually listen to their TeamSpeak talk and their calling and how well they work together as a team. So it's pretty hard to knock high voltage off of their peak that they got going on. The hype is real.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Noble though, you can't underestimate the Cunninghams. I definitely think high voltage are favorites, but the Cunninghams, now Noble, a very, very strong roster, making some additions right before the season as well as picking up that sponsorship. You got Dodoma, however you say it. Excuse me, Nagatron, if you're out there. Militant 83 has always been a consistent player, including on his time for, I think it was 4 seasons at Fulcrum and Phonetic. A lot of very talented players on the Cunninghams, and so, if high voltage don't show up, it's gonna be interesting. Both teams have loads of players with land experience. Obviously, Blue Boys captain and Tofu Smurf out of the Simp teams, as well as Heavy 20. I'm sure there's a couple others I'm missing that even attended the first global grand finals 2 years ago now. So no strangers to.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience on both sides teams. So while I do give it to high voltage, that's just who I'm rooting for. I definitely think it'll be a good matchup. Something very, very worthwhile watching. Look forward to it.
Yeah, no, it should be a great match, and the EU finals are coming up here soon, as well as the RU finals. So a lot of very high caliber tanks action finals coming up here soon.
Should be finishing up
Yep.
with replays here pretty soon.
Yeah. Give me one moment.
Tell you what, overall, I'm excited for next season to start up. So I'm ready for this
Yeah,
season to be over with.
Very, very excited going into next season here. Personally, with our team here, Danger Close, we're making some changes. So I'm already excited to get going again, even with this season just ending. And I think there's a lot of other teams that feel the same way. I have friends over at Playpen All Stars, Tomato Steelers, Lincoln Brigade, and all of them are in the same. A lot of them are in the same mindset that they just want to get going right now. They're already making roster adjustments, holding tryouts, trying to prep for next season. So it should be a good time. Let me see if I can find you guys a score update here for the other matchup. Let's find out. They're on Lakeville, which is their second map. Let me hit up Dance real quick and see if I can figure out the score to that game. Looks like Q are being given side choice, so tank picking will begin here shortly.
Oh, Rock, what do you expect out of Ding out of here? I mean, pretty much. Guess we'll wait till they figure out what side we're going to choose, but expect more of a brawly approach.
Yeah, I would say a brawly approach. I'm not going to reveal too much because I've seen Ding on this map, but I will say that they like to brawl. I would not expect too much of a stagnant play either on trying to go with a cap or a really hard turtle out of Ding. I would expect them to be aggressive. It's just their nature of play on this map in my experience with them. That being said, Q showed earlier that they can attack. They are still discussing things, and Hugh are going with defense. So it's going to be up to Ding and A to get the first round to get the only round on attack here on Ghostown against Hugh. And I remember from earlier, Ghostown was Hugh's ban. So whether it was for whatever reason, whether they didn't want to play it, they weren't prepared, it's not a strong map, or they just don't like it, it was their not preferred map. So we will have to see here. So for those of you still out there, we're still a couple minutes away. See some of you are leaving. Stick around because it is still up in the air with all one round to decide it all. So it'll be interesting here. I think they are now sorting out who gets to pick tanks first, which should be the defense. So that will be Hugh with going with first picks. So that'll be going along here pretty soon. So score update from the other match. Googly Bobbers is up 4-2 on Lakeville over Clueless right now.
Hey, Googly Bobbers was one of the most fun I had the match that we played them is it was actually pretty fun and pretty intense through the entire thing. I think that one went to overtime between them. But,
yeah, no, we forced overtime on that match. We mine's a lot of back and forth play. Googly Bobbers very capable. They had some really brilliant strats they brought against us, and obviously they took the win at the end. So That's why they're up on the table and we're doing this right now. But, that being said, it's been a pleasure to sit here and watch this match for the last hour and a half now. Tank picks starting to come out here, so it'll be just a minute until we get started with this 9th and final battle. Everything on the line for these two teams, so we will see. It looks like Clueless and Googly Bobbers are going into another match. So that not decided yet. I think that makes it 4-3 still in favor of Googly Bobbers, but it looks like Clueless still have one more round on defense. So very close over there.
What map they playing?
They are on Lakeville.
So
a Lakeville defense. I don't even want to imagine being Googly Bobbers right now. It's it's the same thing that Ding's facing here. You got to win one round to go to the Gold League. They're that close, and they got to win it, and they have to attack on one of the hardest maps to attack. Lakeville attacks are not easy at all. Ghostown, you have some more wiggle room to attack. Both the caps are pretty spread apart, and it's really easy to cap bait, move guns in, you get some shots off. Lakeville is not that way, so Googly Bobbers have a tall task in front of them to make it back to the Gold League. Googly Bobbers have been in every season of the Gold League except for this one. They were in all 4 of the seasons back when it was 742, and they flew under Noble in season 5, and then that team not performing as expected, and so Noble pulled the sponsorship after the team was relegated out of the league. A couple of their better players went on to other teams, including I know Anfield is at High Voltage, but a lot of the players out of that former Noble team went back and reformed their old team, the Googly Bobbers. I know Zombie Food and Sovereign Zulu are over there, and they rebuilt that roster, and they are back, and they are real close from making it to the Gold League over in their match. So that'll be an interesting fight. So we are about to get started, ladies and gentlemen, for the 9th and final battle. Winner of this match goes on to the WGLNA Gold League Season 2, 2015-2016. You, Dance, whoever you are, whoever in Wargaming decided to come up with that name for the next season and this season, I utterly despise you because it is a mouthful. That being said, we have 2 very interesting lineups out of both teams. Hugh, a 5100, 4 IS-3s, a T-32, and Trifo, who's shown effective in that T-32 all night. Cest in a MT-25. Going back to the MT-25. Wasn't a big fan of that last time they brought it. We'll see if they can make it work now. Side of Ding, 3 IS-3s, a T-32, T-54 lightweight, and 2 Tiger 1s. So Ding here know they're going to have to assault. They're bringing those Tigers to bring the extra HP. 2 tier 7s that bring tier 8 tank HP. It's going to be crazy. I'm expecting a brawl here real early. Ding are not a team to slow play it on this map. I'm expecting to see a brawl happen very fast and this to be decided very early. And that being said, Ding are pushing all in one direction, going up that 8 line. Hugh going with a more conventional mid-split, getting tanks behind the traditional hold downs, getting a tank up to the crane, 3 IS-3s overlooking that 1 cap, and that lightweight's going out there. It looks like that lightweight, he's going to peel off, so he's not going for the cap. He's just trying to get some vision. Don't know if he was able to light those IS-3s. I think he might have tagged one of them. I don't think he saw all of them. Matt Knight going up to this next corner here. T-32 playing the 2 cap and MT-25 in the south. All these tanks to do. Moving into position out of Ding. First one lining up opposite of Matt Knight, moving out here. He's just going to push straight out, find a shot. He's going to trade with Matt Knight, even trade there.
Very surprised when this from Ding. They're splitting their lineup. I expected them to really roll just heavy right down the middle, but they're trying to force their guns into a crossfire here.
I think Ding are going with a trap right now. Ding are going to force this cap. They're going to force tanks into this middle area, and these Tigers and this T-32 are sitting here. Now, it looks like Hugh is a little bit wiser, and they're going around. They're not bottlenecking. Matt Knight getting focused down to a 1-shot. He's already down to 360. Cap's already up to 30, 40, closing up to 50. 3 on Cap. Hugh need to be careful. They need to get their shots in here. They need to get some resets. 1 tank getting off Cap. Cap points going down. IS-3s are stacking up. They're going to try to focus down flashing. T-32 is going to try to hold off their T-32, and he's backed up by 5100. Matt Knight's a one-shot. He's probably not going to peek and just be here for an extra gun. IS-3s firing shots, not making them connect. 70 seconds. The Cap is close. 1 reset comes off, but it's not the Cap points. The 2 IS-3s in the back have it. Hugh are choosing to commit here. 1 shot goes off, gets the reset, but Hugh are committed. Matt Knight goes down. They're trying to focus down flashing. 1 shot goes out. Shot misses, hitting rubble, and there goes the shot. It's an even trade. 8 on 8. Still an even fight. Morgan Freeman coming in here in the lightweight behind Rapidus. T-32 trying to work the hole down. And Hugh are in a bad spot right now. They need to back off. They need to pick direction and go. They're letting the other team control the pace right now. Tiger 2s are pushing out these IS-3s. T-32 is just sitting here getting shot up by Morgan Freeman. They get down one of the Tigers. They have the tank lead, but they're down on HP. Rafidos getting focused. Trifo trying to block for him here. Trying to move in front of his gun. Trying to block for him, and he goes down anyways. Hugh focusing down the Tiger. They get the Tiger down. They still have the tank lead. They're still up by 1, but they're down on HP. Trifo going to go down here at 32. He might get off 1 more shot. It's going to be down to 3 tanks out of Hugh here. It's just down to 2 and 1. They're going to force this, and it looks like Ding are about to take this. They're trying to move this 32 in. The lightweight's coming full HP. Down into 2 tanks. MT-25 trying to get some damage off here. Can't get it. Marseille's going to go down, and it's just down to this MT-25 to hold out here for Hugh. But I think it's inevitable at this point. T-54 lightweight is going to go chase him down. The other tanks are going to sit here on Cap. All Ding have to do now is sit on this Cap and keep this MT-25 away or try to get a reset. And he's not even getting in the position where that's happening. He ran straight south. I think he's just given up. Yep, he's just given up at this point. He knows he can't get the reset. Morgan Freeman still trying to find him down. He just took too long. He's never going to get back. 15 seconds. 15 Cap points. 6. 99. 100. Ladies and gentlemen, Ding NA is going to the WGLNA Gold League Season 2, 2015-2016. What a fight.
Good brawl there, dude.
Good brawl. Ding doing a great job at forcing the fight on their terms. They got that Cap pressure going. They made Hugh commit. They made them push in. You know, Hugh did a good job at focusing tanks down, but they gave up so much HP. It was so close. Such a great brawl. You know, end of the day, both teams fought hard. Great series, and Hugh taking this, or Ding taking this match, going to the Gold League. Ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for us. We're going to have a few closing words here. That being said, Lincoln Brigade's stream of Googly Bobbers versus Clueless is at a 4-4 draw right now, about to go on Ghostown for the decider there. So if you're not already tuned into that stream as well, you might want to queue that one up. It's been a pleasure to bring this one to you guys. I will be back in some form on Wednesday to bring to you guys the finals match between Ding NA and whoever wins this other match. So great fights out of this team. Rev, you got any final words?
No, it's been a pleasure.
So that about does it for us, guys. Head on over to the other stream. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by.